Alright, Shalom. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Bahasham Rakakwadash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Akiam. And this is your brother Abawan back again with another video. Through the spirits and power of Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Bahasham Rakakwadash, all praises and glory is due, especially in the times that we're in. And this is, you have to be Salaka for recording the video in landscape mode, right? But that's how the initial Instagram video I saw that I'm responding to was recorded, so I have to record it the same way. So this is the book of Job 9 verse 24. Alright, the book of Job 9 verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not, where and who is he? And that's going to be the title of this video, right? I'm just probably even going to make it into a series, where and who is, if not, where and who is he? Because at this point, man, if the wicked, right, that the scriptures speak of, or the devil which the Bible speaks of, the rulers of the darkness of this world which the Bible speaks of, is not Esau Edom, then where and who is he, man? Who else can it be except for the so-called red man, right? Which is Esau Edom, the so-called red man. Who else can it be? Because when we speak of the elites of Esau Edom, right? Your elite banking family, the elite banking families of Esau Edom, especially the Rothschilds and their history and how they came into power, even going into how they were funding a lot of the wars that happened on the earth, right? This is something that even this guy spoke about and touched on heavily. The influence and the power. So yeah. So yeah. Started reading over here now, getting cold. But yeah, the influence and the power that the Rothschilds have all over the earth, even influencing and funding all these wars, right? Loaning the US money, and even going as far as inciting them, right? Getting them to even partake in different wars and fight different conflicts within their country. This is the power that the elites of Esau Edom, the so-called red man, has, right? And not only that, but how you see them being involved in damn near every aspect of your life, okay? And this person, right? I'm forgetting, yeah, Neely Fuller, right? Dr. Neely Fuller. He had this sociological theory, right? The 9 areas of human activity. Okay, and I can't really remember everything off head, so let me just quickly look it up in the on the Chrome, right? Neely Fuller's 9 areas of human activity. Let's get that. Neely Fuller's. Right, here it is. So the 9 areas of human activity, and it was basically just a theory that he made up that, when you look at it, right, the system of white supremacy, which really is Edomite supremacy, and in this case is Edomite control, has already taken over the 9 areas of human activity, which is basically every aspect of your life, right? So this is which right here, the 9 areas of human activity: economics, that goes without saying, education, right? And he was speaking about it, McGraw Hill, okay, and Macmillan Inc., which was the foremost American textbook company, right? And that is controlled by the Rothschilds through Robert Maxwell, and even the original creator of the McGraw Hill books, right? I've forgotten his name, but eventually those books got bought up by Robert Maxwell and another individual, and I will actually happen to have the Google page right here. And this is from AI Overview, right? So it reads that in 1988, controversial British media tycoon Robert Maxwell, which of course Robert Maxwell is a small heart, right? And that's Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Robert Maxwell, British media mogul, businessman and politician, acquired the American publishing house Macmillan Inc. for Maxwell's tender offer, endorsed by Macmillan Los Angeles Times, roughly $2.6 billion. after a hostile, drawn-out bidding war. So even all the way back in 1988, and this is actually $2.6 billion in 1988, and what it is worth right now, right? But yeah, let's go back to this. The 9 areas of human activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and slash counter war, right? And basically the elites of Esau Edom, right? Your Rothschild, the Rockefellers, the DuPont, the De Beers, because that's you also have to go into the De Beers Diamond Mining Company, right? And actually talked about this before, and how the De Beers family basically controls, have exclusive rights to diamond mining all over in different African nations. Now, of course, they've quote unquote so-called sold, right, the rights to that mining to a different company that's is to a different company, which is basically just a front company. The Anglo, I've forgotten the exact name, but the Bears are no longer controlling directly, right, mining in Africa anymore, or diamond mining in Africa anymore, right? Because we've already gone through this in terms of economy. This is how Esau operates. You have your asset management firms, you have your hedge, you have your not hedge companies. Like, yeah, I just mentioned it right now, and I forgot what I said. You have I forgot that. And I just mentioned it right now. Yeah, your front companies. Yeah, you have the front companies that are set up. And that is basically how. So like, yeah. That's basically how these devils stay in control and stay in power. Right. And this is the point. Okay, right. So let's get back to the point, okay? When you listen to that video, okay, the point is that what does Esau Edom not control, right? And this right here only goes to prove, okay, that Esau Edom truly is the devil which the Bible speaks of, okay? When you go into this book of Job, right? Or you go into, let's go to the book of Daniel, okay? When you're going to who will be in power in the last days, let's get this as well. The book of Daniel 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. Right, and that base man is, of course, Esau Edom, the so-called red man. Okay, and right now, or the times where that baseman is in rulership, right? So once you realize that it is Esau Edom, the so-called red man, that is in power, that is ruling on the earth, right? Especially the elites of Esau Edom, which are basically the least of the flock, the small hearts. And that's basically what that video was going into about. Look at how much influence, look at how much control these different elites, small heart families have over the earth, right? And look at how they are able to basically do as they please on the earth, or do whatever they want. They set up the Federal Reserve and set up Federal Reserve banks all over the earth, right? Because it's not just the US that has Federal Reserve banks. Everywhere in the world has it, right? And that is how they basically control the nations, right? Because let's remember that quote from ironically enough, right? Ironically enough, right? The quote is from a Mayor Shell Rothschild. Okay, I think it's a, hold on, let me confirm that. I think it's from Mayer Rothschild, right? Here it is, Mayer Shell Rothschild, German banker, which is actually of course he's been exposed, man, that this is a small hat, but this is how these small hats operate, right? They hide their identities, they change their names, kind of like Bibi, you know, from Milkowski to Netanyahu. But yeah, give me control. Yeah, here it is. And it's from his. That's it. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. From Mayer M. Shell Rothschilds. Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws. Right, because at the end of the day, right, it is the influence, right? The power is in who controls the economics, right? Because it's not just about dealing with, money that, oh, you are the one that controls the money. No, it's been about economics, because the money itself is in the form of buying and selling. This is how you also know that the reason, that's why you also know that the reason why, or this is why you also know, right, that the C-hip, right, is ultimately going to be based on economics as well, and why, it's going to be based on control Slovakia, because it's based on economics, right? As soon as the C-hip gets put out, the MOTB gets put out, and it's mandated that you can only buy or sell if you have the, if you receive the mark either in your right hand or in your forehead, right? It becomes easy to control the nation and who writes the laws in the nation, because at the end of the day, right, the most important thing in this kingdom is economics, okay? Right? Money and the flow of money and the love of money, which is what the scriptures tells you about the love of money being the root of all evil. But alas, money is the ultimate mammon, right? It's the ultimate idol in this kingdom, okay? And yeah, man. So yeah, man. So who has this power? Who has all this control? And that is, of course, Esau, Edom, the so-called red man. But you will still have devils like Vocab Malone and these other Christians that want to tell you that, oh, Esau, Edom is done away with, right? Esau, Edom is done away with, right? Even though the scriptures clearly tells you that this Esau, Edom, the so-called red man, will be ruling in the last days, right? And would be the one to be punished by the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai in these last days. Let's get that quick precept. Right, so this is the precept that will basically bring everything together. So this is the book of 2nd Ezra 6, verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And that's basically the point right there. The end of the world, right? The end of this earth age comes through Esau, Edom. And we know that whoever is in power in these last days, that is who is the Esau, Edom. And we know even more that if okay, we know even more that whoever is in power, that is basically being the wicked and being the wicked of the earth and abusing that power, right, and destroying the earth by way of their wickedness, okay? That is who is Esau, Edom, right? So we know. These devils, right? These devils, right, are getting exposed day by day. And there's even another person I wanted to do a video on, I couldn't find the video I was looking for, and John Mertzheimer, or basically a political economist. I've forgotten his actual name. John Mertzheimer or something like that. That was his name. And he's been exposing Esau, man. As the scriptures say, the least of the flock shall draw them out, right? Yes, John Mersheimer. I think that's even makes that's Nish Mersheimer name sounds, it sounds the way it sounds, right? But yeah, like I was saying, that basically he's been speaking out against, Esau, Edom, and their wickedness, right? And what wickedness am I speaking about? Let's go to the book of Habakkuk, the second chapter. So this is the book of Habakkuk 2, verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Right, and this is of course the colonization and the imperialism of Esau, Edom, right, where they go and try to take control of all these other nations, which basically they already have, right? And going back to the quote from Mayer Amschel Rothschild, give me control of a nation's wealth and I care not who makes the laws, because ultimately everyone that makes the laws will be in your pocket anyway, because you're controlling the money. That's why you see the US responding the way it does when it comes to the state of Israel, right? And that also shows you once again the accuracy of the scriptures, because as the scripture says, the least of the flock shall draw them out, right? And their end, let's get that, because it's mainly the second part I want to get. yeah, he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So this is the book of Jeremiah 50 verse 45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh, that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. This is how you know that it's speaking of a future Babylon, right? Not the Babylon that exists in Jeremiah's time, because it's speaking about a futuristic prophecy, because it's speaking about, Babylon, this modern day Babylon, right? And what will happen in the last days to this modern day Babylon. So now let's get the last precept, because like I said, you have John Mersheimer, right? And this is just then going back to the prophecy that the least of the flock shall draw. It's not the least of the flock, but that their own tongue shall fall upon themselves, because you have more and more Edomites coming out and speaking against the evil of their own people, right? You even saw that do that as well. It could be Jacob, of course. Even John Mersheimer could be Jacob as well, because but you have these Edomite looking individuals coming out and speaking against the wickedness of their own people, right? And exposing the wickedness of their own people. So this is the book of Second Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Done. So with that, I'm going to end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High. Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai Ba'asham Rakakwadash. And there is spirit up here at Chaman John Akwatwa edified. Shalom. And this devil's kingdom is going down, man. These devils are exposed and destroyed. Hey, Shalom.